everyone, welcome back to another Plebs guide. I'll be your pleb for the evening as we tackle a subject not many people talk about, and that's team comps. Now before we dive in though, I just want to go over that standard YouTube stuff, so please like, comment, subscribe to the channel, you know the drill. You can also follow me now on Facebook and Twitter. I will be sure to leave those links in the description below. Otherwise, now that that's all over with, welcome to a Plebs Guide to Team Comp. First, let's go over some of the basics and layout ground rules. One, we are primarily talking about 5v5 modes here. We will go over and touch on some of the other modes later on though, so don't worry about that. And two, this is more for casual play, not ranked or professional play, because I don't play ranked and I'm not a professional. Alright, so the first thing about standard team comp in Smite is there's no such thing as a standard team comp. The closest to a standard is going to be one god from each class with a 2-3 split on the magical physical damagers. This means that there's going to be one warrior that's kind of a hybrid tank, one guardian, which is going to be the main tank, one hunter to burn towers and enemy tanks, one assassin to backline the enemy, and one mage to deal a ton of damage to all the enemies. In a perfect world, that's how it works. But we don't live in a perfect world, and rarely will picks go that well for you. Most of the time, you have all sorts of things go wonky, like 5 of the same class comps, for example. And this isn't bad or wrong at all. That is one of the best things about Smite, is it's flexible. You will see a lot of non-guardians in the support role, or non-warrior tanks, so let's just kind of go over those different types of team comps that work well. Sometimes they don't work, and sometimes they work, it's right in the middle. So first one, the actual standard. So, like I said earlier, there isn't really a standard team comp. The one of each approach does work and normally works well, as actually seen in the footage you're watching. But there is a standard comp variant that you'll see more often, and that's going to be 2 tanks, 2 mages, 1 hunter or assassin. Most often it's going to be 1 warrior, 1 guardian for your tanks, either 1 hunter or assassin, and then it's really a coin flip on which you'll get between the hunter or assassin. And since everyone wants to play mage, you'll most likely have to fight tooth and nail to get a spot as one, if that is indeed what you want to play. With double the amount of mages than at almost any other class, you can see why. And that's why I really don't have an issue with 2 mages most of the time. They're going to be high damage dealers, so you can kind of take that over an assassin or a hunter, and it'll work just fine. Alright, the next one I have is the 2 guard, 2 hunter. This one was actually suggested by Twitter user Micah Monster with 2 R's. And this is actually another comp that seems to work really well. It's going to be the 2 hunters with at least Fafnir as your guardian. Most of the time this is paired with another guard as a tank, as to not upset the balance between magical and physical damage rolls, unless of course you're using a magic hunter like Sol or Kronos. The 5th pick is typically going to be an assassin in modes like Conquest or a mage. So Fafnir is great because he has this great move, Chorus, that boosts the attack speed and gives the boosted person any on-hit abilities that he has, which is key for this build. The strategy here is to farm up until you have a few items and then just start shredding objectives and the enemy team. Most of the time this works because you have those 2 guards, those 2 tanks in the front line that can just hold everything down, and then you have Fafnir who's able to just literally make them just light everything up. It's almost like having a belt of frenzy. And actually, if you add a belt of frenzy, yeah, that'd probably get pretty wicked. Alright, so the next one I have here is the 5 of a kind. This one can work. I have only really seen it work with 5 mages, but the premise is to load up on one type and see if you can make it work. I've been a part of quite a few 5 mage comps and have been destroyed by them too. I've won a few, I've lost a few, so it's really a coin flip at that point. The one that I saw that really worked well was Zhonghui and Hades as tanks / frontline, Ao Kuang as the assassin, Sol as a hunter, and Zeus as the quote-unquote mage. This comp destroyed us, even though we all have magical protection items. On the other hand, I played a match where we were all assassins, and we got our butts handed to us. Pro tip: it is far easier to stack physical protection items than magical protection items, and it's actually far more beneficial as well. So if you're looking for a team comp, it might be even better to go 2 magic, or 3 magic over 2 magic, just because some of the best items are going to be in the physical tree, and physical items also help towards like jungle camps and towers, things like that. So people want to build physical. There was another kind of cool variant that I've seen too, and that's going to be the 3 warrior 2 guard comp. It's similar to the it's in the same vein as the 5 of a kind, in my opinion. Everyone is super tanky and hard to kill, and you still have that 3/2 damage type, but trying to take objectives does not work really well in this sort of comp. Even though you do a lot of you can do damage, typically you don't do enough to just shred objectives. Another one that I see sometimes is the no tanks comp. This happens a lot when people don't actually want to play anything but carry. This would be something like 2 assassins, 2 mages, and a hunter, or any combination of those classes. Most of the time, however, it's at least one person that'll be kind of going tanky, hybrid, to act as a frontline. So in these types of comps, you'll see a lot of Fenrir or Najas being played as support. They'll be grabbing a couple hybrid items, kind of building tanky with a little bit of power, and at least helping zone. This can work, but I don't see it work too often. The goal of this comp is to just never let up on the enemy. You want to out-damage them, and a lot of times lock down it and focus one guy at a time. And this is more, you're just playing for the quick win. And hopefully you can either get them to surrender at 10 or win before the 20-minute mark hits, before everyone else starts kicking in. These comps are really just high-risk, high-reward comps. So let's actually just look at a few other game modes now. There are a few different types of things to think of when you're not playing a 5v5 match, namely tanks and damage types. There are a few different game modes where this comes into play, with Joust being the most common. Joust is a 3v3 match, so you have a lot less or more, depending on how you think of it, for your options for the comp. Here are a few Joust comps that I can think of. The first one here is the Joust Standard. The quote-unquote standard for Joust would be 1 tank, which would be a guardian or warrior, 1 mage, and 1 either hunter or assassin. This provides the perfect balance of damage types and damage totals. I personally like having a hunter on my team over an assassin in Joust, but either one really works. As long as you are able to take down towers and objectives, it's fine. Some that you see work really well in Joust would be Bacchus as your tank, or even if it's something like a Hera, really works well. The second one I want to go over is the alternative. So this one is just like the Joust Standard, but instead of a tank, you either have a second mage that is a more support type, like a Changa or a Nox, or you have a tank type assassin like a Ravana or a Fenrir. This can be risky, but it can work. This mostly happens though when somebody calls and locks Mage and someone else does not want to fill and had playing Mage in their hearts the whole time, so they just lock in anyway. I've had this happen to me multiple times, and that's why I've learned to not necessarily lock even if I call Mage, because somebody else is going to go choose Mage right out front of me, then we're going to have two Mages, and it's not going to work that well. So try to learn to fill if you can. It's going to make things easier for everyone. The next one I have here is going to be the 3 of a kind, and really that's just like the 5 of a kind from the 5v5 matches. And this is kind of just taking all of one type. It's almost always going to be 3 mages that you see in Joust, as everyone wants to play mage all the time, and they auto-lock them. I've also seen the variant work with 2 warriors and 1 guardian, or vice versa, and this can get really annoying to deal with, and it can work very well. If you're going to do that though, you want to do something like Shock, Bologna, and Ymir. They all have high protections, just base high protections, and they also have a high base damage. For this, you'd want to build maybe 1 or 2 protection items, and at least 1 hybrid item or 2. Again, I mean, this one's a little easier, I think, than the 5 of a kind in the 5v5 matches, but it can work. It can also be really challenging depending on what you're choosing. So let's just briefly touch on Siege. Now, Siege is a 4v4 mode with a huge jungle, so picking a good team comp is kinda hard. There isn't really any type of correct team comp here, but I would say that the standard is going to be 2 tanks, 2 carries. And that's going to be 1 tank in each lane, 1 carry in each lane. And if you don't know what Siege is, it is an incredibly fun and very underrated and underplayed mode. Where it's going to be a 4v4, huge jungle, huge lanes, and you have huge siege minions that you can get on one or the other lane to help just barrel down. It's fun. No one seems to want to play it. But like I said, that's going to be 2 tanks, 2 carries, and this could and should be 1 warrior, 1 guardian, 1 mage, and then 1 hunter or assassin. That's going to be the closest thing to a standard for you. You want to pick guys that can move around easy and rotate quickly. I like to play Janus, or Janus, however you say it, when I play Siege, as I can portal through most of the jungle, help my team out, or have them help me out, or just get them out of danger. Mercury also seems to be a good pick, because he can just run right down the lane quickly, and just, if he needs to, he can ult almost the entire, well, he can ult like half the length of the siege. And Jing Wei is great with her passive to get back into lane quickly, so you don't really miss out on much. And she's just a good pick regardless of what mode you're playing. I've also seen work really well semi-global ult gods, so gods like Thor, Thanatos, and Ratatasker, because they can all get over the lane quickly. And then all of a sudden it's a 3v2 or a 3v1. So the only other game mode that I could think of is Duel, but this is a 1v1 and you kind of do whatever you want. I'm not really well versed in it, so I can't really give you any good tips for that. So that's something you might want to look elsewhere for, so I apologize. Otherwise, you do have special modes like 2v2 on the Joust map, For this, you want to either go like full damage or one tank, one high damage. But this mode does not have any real team comps to speak of. I have played one match with a buddy of mine. We did the doubles, and we were like, okay, well, we'll go a tank, we'll go like a healer, sort of, that keeps the other tank alive. And boy, did we get destroyed by the double hunter comp. So it really, it's all up in the air for modes like that. So all in all, having a good team comp is all up to who you're playing with, honestly. When you are playing, one tip that I have is to learn to fill. Everyone should take their turn and play support once in a while. I know that you don't always get the same praise for going 3, 8, and 30 with taking 100k damage between damage taken and damage mitigated, but it helps win games. You don't get the flashy numbers, 10 kills and things like that, but you win games when you at least have some tanks there to disrupt and things like that. You should try your hardest to make sure that the team comp that you have actually works well together as well. I haven't really touched on this all that much, but you do need to synergize with your team. Things like an Odin ring with a Zeus ult, they work very well together. Or an Ares ult with Cuckoo Khan. If you start choosing gods that really don't work, that really only work well on their own, and have no good team fight, you have a lot harder time later in the game. So if you're last pick and you see that you need a hunter, but no one really has any good AoE or anything like that, maybe go with a Huyi or Medusa. Something like that. Something that can help bring that bit of a team fight in. Anyway, that just about does it for this Plebs guide. Now, remember to go ahead and leave a comment with what you think down below, and like the video if you learned anything. I really want to try to grow my channel here, and every like helps. Also, if you think of someone who could benefit from this, like, say, that rando who last picked a 3rd mage and then died 15 times, feel free to send them this guide and share this video with them. If you like this video, I also have others like it, including a beginner's guide to Smite. I've also made some guides in the past. I'm going to make more of them, update the ones I have for the newer season, yada yada. And let me know what other guides you want to see. I'll be sure to make them. So until next time, thanks, you rock, have fun, good luck.